Hey hunters, my name is Venturelli and today we're going to make some guns. So if you've seen our previous tutorial video, I have taught you how to download the project files for Relic Hunters Zero and set up your Game Maker Studio properly. So today we're going to use that to make a gun for the game, a new gun. If you didn't follow our first tutorial, I recommend you do so. But this should be pretty easy, pretty simple. I'm going to walk you through every step of the way. Okay, so first of all, there is a written version of this article, of this tutorial, as an article in our website. So you can go to this link. It's in the description down below. It's how to make your own gun in Relic Hunters Zero. So everything that I'm going to teach you in this video, it's also available here in written format. So if you're the kind of person who rather have your tutorials in text and images, that's where you should go. So if we want to make a gun for Relic Hunters Zero, the first thing we want to do is start with something fun. Let's start by drawing how we want our gun to look like, because this is going to force us to have a cool idea, a cool gameplay idea for the gun. So if you're making a gun for the very first time, especially if you have never coded or meddled with game development whatsoever, I recommend you take some of the basic principles of what makes guns interesting in Relic Hunters and just modify a little bit to create something new. So you always want your gun to have something unique that no other gun has. You also want it to be very good in a certain situation and really bad at another type of situation. It needs to have strengths and weaknesses. And if you make those strengths and weaknesses obvious from the visuals, that's much better. So today I feel like making a gun that we haven't seen in the game before, which is this medium range cannon that fires burst fire and uses medium ammo. So this is just, I'm taking pieces of what guns already do in the game and I am recombining them in different ways. So I recommend you do that for your first gun. Maybe I'm going to do a more advanced tutorial on guns to try and make something much more unique. But right now we can make a gun feel unique for players if we just take what we have and recombine it in different ways. So we're going to make this a burst fire, medium range, medium ammo cannon. Okay, so you want to have some kind of image editing software for this. Maybe you want to use GIMP or Photoshop. My weapon of choice today is Photoshop, so we're going to use that. Again, this is just a normal drawing. There's not much specific going on. So what I recommend are two very important tips for you to follow when you do this for the first time. The first thing is pick up an image from an already existing gun from the game. So if you go to the folder where you have unzipped your project files, you're going to find at the Relic Hunters Zero.gmx folder there is a sprites folder, and inside that folder the images folder. And here you have all the sprites for the game, all of them. So I recommend you pick a gun that you think will look the most like what you're trying to make. In my case, I just picked a sniper rifle here. And the first thing you notice is that every gun in the game has three sprites. A normal sprite, a sprite with a white outline around it, and a sprite that is just like the white shape, the white like backdrop for the gun. So we want to take these three sprites here and we want to edit, and we want to make a new sprite out of them. So I'm just gonna get this first sniper rifle here. I'm going to drop it on Photoshop, and we're going to start creating a new gun. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you already rename this as something else. I'm gonna save on the desktop for now and call this SPR Tutorial Gun 0. Okay, so the second most important thing for you to do here is to have a reference image. It's always helpful. Even if you're a professional artist, you want to work out of references. I have a Pinterest. If you want to join my Pinterest, it's I'll provide the link down below. But I have, among other things, various references for cartoon guns, mostly Nerf and other kind of dart guns, because I think they're really colorful. They look like toys and they match the visuals and style of Relic Hunters. So Nerf guns usually make good references for Relic Hunters guns. So you're trying to find a gun that looks a little bit like what you want, what you're trying to achieve, and then you use that as a reference, right? You're not going to copy the image, but just take ideas about shape and proportions and stuff like that. So I'm going to put this in my other monitor here, and I'm going to use that as a reference as I'm working. Another really important thing, you want to, this is pixel art, right? So you want to work with half the scale, because the way that Beto, our artist, draws this is that you can see that the sprites are actually really big, but if I try to just edit it here, you can see that I can make finer details than the size of this square, right? So what we want to do is take this image and make it half its original size before we start working on it. So in Photoshop, the way to do this is come here, image size, and do 50%. Okay, make sure it's constraint proportions, 50%. So you will notice there that it became a little blurred. Some image editing softwares will do this, unless you come here and I don't recall exactly where. There we go, image interpolation. So when working with pixel art, you never want your software to interpolate the colors between the pixels. So if you have that option in your software, just turn it off and do nearest neighbor. It will preserve the hard edges. It will not try to smooth out anything. So if that's turned on and you go image size, 50%, now it's nice and crispy. So now you can see that we have the sprite, our pixels the size they should be. So now that we have it saved as something else, actually I didn't, just I save as another file. Just let me correct this a little bit. Just open the file that I just saved to make sure I'm not ruining. There we go. So I'm going to scale it down again. There we go. So now we're ready to create our own gun. The reason why we want to work with a pre-existing gun is that not only will give you a reference for the file size, so you don't make a huge gun or a tiny one, but also you can take bits and pieces and recombine them. So make sure you're working with a pencil, not a brush, and it's set to 1 pixel size, okay? Because if you go here, you can see I'm making hard pixels. But if you just try to work with a brush instead, like this, you can see that even if the brush is set to 1 pixel, it will create like these blurred pixels, and we don't want that. We want a hard, nice hard image to work with. So pencil, 1 pixel, that's what we want to do. So the next step is to take our reference gun, which is this one. I'm keeping it on my second monitor here as I will work on this rifle. So I'm going to speed up the process a little bit so this doesn't take forever. Okay, so here we go. It's not a work of art, right? I'm not the artist behind Relic Hunters at all, but you also don't need to be. You just need to create something that you think looks cool and looks unique. So this is not exactly very close to this, but I like it. It has some. It makes me want to shoot it. So I think that's the most important thing. So don't stress too much about it. If you're not an artist, just make it as cool as you want it to be. Just have fun with it. So now that we have this first base image here, which I'm going to save, we have to create the other two images. So the first thing we need to do is to create a white outline behind the weapon. So the easiest way to do this is to just use a white pencil with 2 pixels, and we're going to paint behind our weapon. If you're working on Photoshop, maybe you want to just create a non-transparent background so you can better see what's happening. So I'll just paint behind the weapon here. Don't need to be extremely precise, but just make sure that you have every corner covered. It's going to feel good when you interact with the weapon. And there we go. So this is the base outline for the weapon. I'm going to duplicate this layer here. And now we need to make the full white version of the weapon. We're just gonna go Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. We're gonna pump lightness to the max. There we go. So now we have the first gun, we have the gun with the outline, and we have the completely white gun. So remember that we have reduced this image when we started working on it. So right now, let me just save the PSD, tutorial gun PSD. Okay, just make sure. So we need to scale this back to full size. So what we do is image size %200. So it's the opposite of what we did the last time. So now we're going to save the first gun as tutorial gun 00, and the outline one as tutorial gun 01, and the full white as tutorial gun 02. There we go. So now that we have a sprite, we can move on to make it actually work in the game. Okay, so we're back at GameMaker. If you follow my previous video, you should know how to properly set up your Relic Hunters project and open it in GameMaker. So this is what you should be seeing right now. And also I want to apologize for the noise. There's like a tropical forest rain outside of my window. There's really nothing I can do about it, so I hope it's not too noisy. So yeah, what we want to do first is import your sprite, the sprite that we just drew. So you go here to sprites, and then we open guns. And here in guns, we're going to right click and do create sprite. So it's going to open this little window here, which means that we are customizing this little sprite down here. So click load sprite, and we're going to locate the file that we just created. So just select all of the three files, 0, this, and this, and this. So now we have 3 sub images. The way that a sprite works, especially if you have animation, things like that, is that you can have multiple images inside a single sprite. A sprite is something that we call in GameMaker to draw something on the screen, right? So in this case, we're telling GameMaker that this weapon sprite has 3 images: the regular gun, the gun with the white outline, and the plain white gun. Okay, so just check by clicking these little arrows here that everything is fine. We're going to name our sprites. In Relic Hunters Zero, I usually start my sprite names with SPR underline. This is not mandatory, but it's good for organization. If you want to find stuff later, stuff like this makes it much easier. So we're going to call SPR Blitz. That's how I'm calling this gun. So we are almost done. There's one last thing that we gotta do here, which is to set the origin position of the sprite. The origin position is the point where we call where the sprite is like anchored. When it comes to the world, to the game world, it's like we pin it somewhere in the world, and the place that we put that pin is called the origin. So for example, if we rotate the gun, it's going to rotate around that little pin that we just placed, right? So for every gun in Relic Hunters, we want to place the origin position right in the gun handle, right? Because if we do that, the gun will always be at the character's hand, and when it rotates to aim, it will always rotate relative to where it's being held, okay? So in this gun, we can just click here. Sorry, my cell phone. You can just click here anywhere and drag to set the origin. So we're just going to set the origin right here in the gun handle. Okay, so now we have SPR underline blitz in our sprites folder, which should be just fine, exactly what we need. If you want to do texture group, you don't really have to worry about this. It's more an optimization thing, but you can put it in guns right here. I'll explain why in future videos. So, okay, the next thing you want to do is define the gun object. Now that we have an image, we still can't just put it in the game, right? Because it's just going to be the drawing of a gun in the game. What we need to do right now is create an object. In GameMaker, objects are everything that you can interact with and do stuff with. So, thankfully, we already have a standard object for guns. So what we are going to do is to create a new object for our Blitz gun that is based on this pre-existing generic gun. And we're going to customize it and make it work the way we want it to. And then we're going to tell this object to look like the sprite that we just created. So let's just collapse this here and go to Objects, Player, Guns. So right here we have a bunch of guns that we already have in the game, okay? So just like when we are drawing something, what you want to do here is take a gun that looks a little bit like what you want, that behaves a little bit the way that we want a gun to behave, so that we can duplicate it and work by modifying that original gun. So remember, we want to make a medium range burst fire weapon that uses medium ammo. So I am going to take the assault rifle because it is a burst fire long range gun. We're going to modify it a little bit to create our new gun, the Blitz. So just going to find here the OBJ assault rifle, which is the very first here up on the top. And I'm going to right click it and duplicate. So now we have two objects that look like the rifle, but one is called object blah blah blah, blah, a random number. So we're just going to call this OBJ underline. It's the same principle as the sprites. Every object I usually call OBJ underline something. So we're going to call OBJ underline Blitz. So the first thing we want to do is to tell it to look like the sprites that we just drew. So here in sprite, you can see that is referencing the assault rifle. So I'm just going to click here, go to Guns, and find the SPR Blitz all the way down there. There we go. Now, if we just close this, you can see that now we have the OBJ assault rifle and the OBJ Blitz, and it already has the sprite, our new sprite. So, is this enough for a new gun? I don't think so. I think we don't want just to make it look different. We want it to behave a little different. So in GameMaker, we define how things behave, how you interact with stuff through script, through codes, these actions here. So there's always an event and an action. an event tells me that, hey, do something when this happens. So it can be when you collide with something, or when you click it, or when you press a certain key, right? In this case, this is the create event. It tells us to do something the moment we create this object. So this is going to define what the object looks like, what it does, and things like that. So on this side, there are actions. So the actions tell us what to do when the events happen. So if we double click here, we're going to look at the previous code that we had for the assault rifle. It's not too big. And what we are doing here is we are defining a bunch of variables. Variables are little names in the code that when you call them, they tell you what they have. Like they contain something, they store something. And when you, hey, what is object? And then object tells you, oh, I am obj underline assault underline rifle. So you can do, and we use this for every single thing in the game. So how much ammo does it have? 30. How much ammo costs do we have to for each shot that we take of this gun? It's 1. What kind of ammo this gun have? It's heavy ammo and stuff like that. So this is all part of the assault rifle object that we just duplicated. So we don't really need to create anything new, at least not in this tutorial. Maybe I'll do a more advanced tutorial later, but for now we just need to modify these to look like what we want. So the first thing you want to change is the name. So we're going to replace this with Blitz. You need to use these little, I forgot the name of this thing in English, but yeah, you do this. So we call it Blitz. Now we're going to tell which object this is, which is just the name that we have of the object, obj underline blitz. We're going to do this. Now shake amount is how much the camera is going to shake when you fire this gun. We want it to be a little heavier than the assault rifle, so let's make it 8 instead of 6. Maybe 9. I like my camera shaking. Projectile speed determines how fast the projectile is going to travel. So since this uses medium ammo, it's like heavier, bigger bullets. Let's make it a little slower, like 50 or maybe 48. I don't know. We're going to test this later. Projectile speed decay determines how fast how the bullet is going to slow down as it travels. So if 0.12 means that every frame this bullet is going to reduce the speed by 0.12. Eventually it's going to stop, right? But it's going to reach its range before that and disappear, so don't worry. We want it to slow down a little bit faster than the assault rifle, so we're going to use 16 instead of 12. How much damage each of these bullets causes? Now we're going to make this shorter range and more impact. So instead of 24, we're going for 30. Range is going to be medium. So 600 is a lot. 600 is almost the entire screen. We're going to reduce this to 400 or maybe 380. Projectile power is how much the shots knock your enemies back. 1 is fine. You don't want to knock enemies back too much. That could be potentially look weird. Accuracy and accuracy aiming determines how much your shots diverge when they are when you shoot them from the place you're aiming. So 5 degrees means that if you're not aiming, if you're not using your laser sights, you're going to have a 5-degree difference between shots. We want a less accurate gun, so we're going to use 10 here and 1.5 here, maybe 2. So this is tougher to control than the assault rifle. So again, you always give your gun like strengths and weaknesses. So we made it deal more damage than the assault rifle, but on the other hand, it has a shorter range and it has lesser accuracy. It's also going to have less ammo. So we're going to start with maybe 21 and increase ammo cost to 2 because this is Do we really need to do this? I don't think we do, because it's going to use medium ammo. So we know that it's going to, you're gonna have less ammo for this gun than you usually would. The reload time for this gun, 2.5 seconds. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. So now we're going to tell this gun how fast it can fire. So the fire rate tells us how often a shot is going to be fired from this gun. In case of burst fire weapons, it determines how fast the bursts themselves are going to be triggered. So this tells us that every 0.35 seconds, the gun is going to fire a burst. This is good. Maybe we want to slow it a little bit down to 0.4. This is going to take a little bit longer for between the bursts, but we're going to make it automatic. What fire underline automatic means is that, do I have to keep pressing the mouse button, or can I just hold it? We want to just hold it. Fire burst tells us how many bullets will fly on each burst. 3 is fine. I like 3. It's going da da da. And fire burst rate, it's what's the difference between the shots, right? So, of the burst. So first shot, and then it's going to wait 0.08 seconds, second shot, and then it's going to wait 0.08 seconds again, third shot. So pa pa pa. So we want to make it a little slower than the assault rifle. So instead of 0.08, we're going to use 0.1. Crosshair recoil, a little bit more. 0.5 is how much a crosshair opens. We're not going to edit any of this critical stuff. We're not using this today. Now the sound and the weapon class. So sound, we're going to leave the rifle sound, because if we try to use the shotgun sound, it's going to be really loud and really weird, because it's going to be 3 shots. So let's just leave the rifle sound here. But we're going to tell the game that this is maybe heavy class, or yeah, heavy class is fine. It can be shotgun or submachine gun pistol. I just decided to call it heavy class. And this is how much the joystick rumbles. Let's leave it at 42. Okay, so now we have our OBJ Blitz, and it's a complete gun right now. So have we created a functional gun for Relic Hunters Zero? Yes, that's all that it takes. The problem is, where can I find it in the world, right? Is it on the floor? Do I buy it at the shop? Where is it? So we need to place this gun somewhere in the world so that we can pick it up and test it. So what I like to do is to place it in the beginning of the ship, right on the floor, so we can quickly pick it up and test it out. So the first thing you gotta do is create a pickup. A pickup is a special type of object that it is not the actual gun, but instead it's an object that when you interact with it, it gives you that gun to hold. Like it's the gun when it is on the ground. That's what the pickup is. So we're going to pick up to get any of, where's the assault rifle again? Pick up assault rifle. The crude is just fine. So we're just going to duplicate any of these pickups, really, the same way we did before. Right click and duplicate. So now we have a second object, name object blah blah blah. So we're just going to rename it obj underline pickup underline blitz, and we're going to make it look like our sprites. So we go to sprite, guns, and we find SBR blitz right here. I can't decide if I'm going to use Z or S. Let's call it Z. Did I use S the last time? Let me see. Oh, it's C, but I think the name, it's Blitz. Okay, now it's fine. OBJ Blitz. So back to our pickup. OBJ underline pickup underline blitz with the correct sprites. So this looks a lot like the gun object. It has a create event, and it has a script an action script that defines the object when it is created. So it's very simple. It just defines the name and which gun it is. So name, we're going to call it Blitz, and the gun object is going to be obj underline Blitz. If it changes color, it's because it's right. If we had typed obj Blitz with an S, for example, it would not be correct. You can also autocomplete this by holding Control and pressing space. If you do this, it's going to show you all the possible things that you could be typing. It's like Google, right? So just go obj, is going to tell you all the objs in the game. Tell obj BL, there we go, already found Blitz. So Control space, you go to the auto completion to try and figure out what the name is. So that's all it takes. It's the name is Blitz and the gun is obj underline Blitz. That's fine. Okay. So now that we have created our pickup of our objects, we just have to place it in the first room. So what we are going to do is collapse everything here. Just close the objects. We're going to go to the rooms folder and we're going to open the room underline start. So this is the ship. So to navigate here, we are going to use the middle mouse button holding the middle mouse button to navigate. You can also use the mouse wheel and things like that. I just like to use the middle mouse button like this. I think it's very comfortable. So this is where you start the game. So we're just going to place our pickup object right here when you start the game. So we're going to click on the Objects tab here, see? And we're going to click this empty square and choose Pickups and find our pickup. Oh, I haven't renamed it. I'm really sorry. Let's just close this. Go back to our Objects, Pickups. BJ Pickup Blitz. What? That's weird. Is that a bug? Well, let's try that again. Room start. Objects. And we're going to go to Pickups. We're going to find. There we go. That was it. OBJ Pickup Blitz. It's right here. So just clicking, and you can see that it's the correct sprite right here. And we're just going to click anywhere in the world where we want this to be. We can create like several guns, but there's no need to do this. So you can also click and drag. Just right click and delete what you want to delete. Just leave this guy here. We're going to place it right in the beginning. Click here to save and run the game. It is going to take a while because we have just added new images to the game, a new sprite, right? So it's going to take some while to reorganize the project files and place all the images in the right texture pages and stuff like that. So it's going to take a little bit more than usual, but don't worry, that's completely normal. We're just going to speed up to the end of this loading here. Okay, so it finally finished loading. So we should just go to adventure mode and check out our new gun. So there we go. Blitz. It's right here. You can just pick it up and fire a little bit. Wow, that's really inaccurate. But it's using medium ammo like we wanted to. It reloads just as fast as the assault rifle, but if we aim it, it is pretty accurate. It's just a weapon that you want to aim before you shoot. Just the way we want it. Let's just test this in some turtles. Yeah, the range is pretty short. So if you use it like a shotgun, it's going to be devastating. But if you try to use it as an assault rifle, it's still going to be pretty competent, right? But since the range is a little bit tiny, it's not going to be as effective. So this is a pretty interesting gun. It can be used as a rifle or a shotgun. It looks different. It feels a little different than the other guns. So at this point, you usually want to tweak a little bit and change some things in the game that you're not totally happy with. Maybe I'll just boost the range just a little bit. So at this point, I just wanted to test your gun. So that was it. That was really fast and easy, wasn't it? So now you are officially a game developer. You have downloaded something new and cool. You have created an image. You have edited code, and you have included the gun in the game. So that's it for today. I hope you had as much fun as I did, and I see you next time.